Greetings one and all, I'm Red Angel, and welcome to I Love It Anyway, a series where I talk about the media I love that is inherently flawed, but I enjoy it despite this fact. Little Dragon's Cafe was a game that I was highly driven to purchase when I first picked up my Nintendo Switch. In fact, you could say it was one of the games that drove me to jump into this modern console generation with wild abandon. It was made by Yasuhiro Wada, one of the creators of the original Harvest Moon, a series I hold very near and dear to my heart. Little Dragon's Cafe is a farming/cooking sim with a creative motley crew of characters, a vast world to explore, and a story that I could play at my own pace. What could possibly go wrong? As I had been thinking of all of these factors, the ever-prevalent part of my brain that lurks called out a single, solitary warning.
Beware the game that promises much but shows little, riding the goodwill on a beloved creator. Remember the one they call Mighty Number 9.
Alright, it wasn't that creative of a warning, but I took pause before purchasing the rather expensive collector's edition and decided to listen to some of the reception of Little Dragon's Cafe before purchasing. Something which I'm glad I did, since after a month or so, the game's price dropped like an osprey diving into the water for a fish. And I managed to get it for $40 US as opposed to the standard $60 it cost at launch. I popped it in my Switch, started playing, and I realized I made the right choice since the game wasn't exactly what you'd call star quality. It left a lot to be desired in many areas, and I knew I would have been fairly angry at myself if I bought it at full price. Oh well, I love it anyway. Look, from a critical standpoint, I can see why Little Dragon's Cafe earns all of those middle-of-the-road ratings, because that's about where it'll fall for most people. The game functions fine, it's fun to play for a few hours, and you can put it down at any time. You'll find that your life is a whole lot easier if you play the game in small snippets rather than playing it constantly, since it is not a game that demands to be binged. I've invested over 80 hours into this game, and I'm still not done collecting all the recipes yet, which, considering how bad my gaming ADHD can be, slightly worse than my normal ADHD, but not by much, says something about the game overall if I've invested that much time in it. Let's get down to basics. Little Dragon's Cafe is about two children who run a cafe with their mother, then one day she falls ill. The children don't know what to do. An old man appears, drops the bomb, "Your mother is pot dragon," kicks an egg in your direction, and tells you to make it food. Your food choice determines what color the dragon will be when it hatches, and now your story begins. Whichever sibling you choose, you get to name them, and the other one will be forced to being an NPC as you go around the island gathering ingredients for your cafe's recipes. Essentially, that means that while you get to have fun and gain your independence, becoming a successful explorer, cook, and cafe/inn owner, your sibling is forced to do all the grunt work, which they're not even good at since you have to come in and do it for them half the time, meaning you as the player are the most competent person in this family, which includes the adults since one of them is comatose and the other is an old man that just stares at your dying mother. If you think this is weird, wait until you get to meet the staff members. The rest of your cafe employees are quite the colorful cast of characters, including a lazy elf, an easily enraged Super Saiyan of a girl, and a fancy orc man. They run your cafe while you're off exploring with your dragon, which makes me question the hiring process of two children, but thinking about that ruins the fun, so it's best not to. Your dragon grows and gains skills to help you unlock new areas of the island, and the cafe grows alongside your scaly friend, letting people stay there like it's an inn from a JRPG. That's not to mention how your guests include, but are not limited to, a witch, a goblin, a soothsayer, and other assorted characters. Sure, why not? The premise of Little Dragon's Cafe is somewhat standard for RPG-like games, with the parent falling sick. But what's sort of darkly humorous is that you can just spend as much time as you want not doing anything to forward the story. Your mom will be in a coma, unchanging and unmoving, while you have fun flying around on the back of a dragon, gathering ingredients and exploring the land. Sure, you're going to have to do it eventually, but still, you're only forced to go to bed because your dragon gets tired, grumpy, and well, it wasn't designed for you to keep playing without you letting your character and your dragon get some rest. Little Dragon's Cafe is made for you to play it one day at a time, learn about love, hard work, and properly caring for the mythical beast that has fallen into your care. While those options are somewhat limited, feeding him to make sure he doesn't go hungry, cooking foods that are actually decent to raise his mood so he doesn't get so darn grumpy, even though he's pretty much a garbage disposal of your burnt food anyways, your adventures with the dragon are some of the best parts of the game. Alas, Little Dragon's Cafe is not without its problems though. The dragon can't attack anything unless you order it to, and it can only do that by headbutting it. Not breathing fire, headbutting. That means the best way you can get your dragon to attack something is to run right into the enemy's face in order to attack it, and then run away. Whenever you get hit, the monster eats a random piece of food in your inventory and will keep doing so every time it hits you. While there's no health bar, it is disheartening to get something you've worked rather hard on get eaten away all because your dragon didn't react fast enough, or the terrain just wasn't feasible for a high-speed chase. Your dragon doesn't even register an enemy is nearby until you give the command, even after it slams you across an open field multiple times. It's almost just easier luring them into traps like running into walls and rocks. It's things like that that show that Little Dragon's Cafe isn't exactly polished in terms of gameplay, which is a bit disappointing. Exploring the world in Little Dragon's Cafe is just so darn fun, giving you a kind of RPG-style questing feel as you scour the island for more ingredients and recipes. When you gain the ability to fly on the back of your dragon, the world opens up even more, making you want to progress in the story to watch your dragon grow to see just how far you can go. The variation of color palettes, environments, and music in each unique area of the island brings a certain magic to the game that wouldn't have been here otherwise. Like... Or... in that sense, it is very reminiscent of Harvest Moon, which had its own memorable tracks throughout the series. While there are moments where the music fades and the area you're in is oddly quiet, it doesn't break your immersion within the world. Now, let's talk about cooking and managing the cafe. Now that I've gotten all the exciting RPG things out of the way, all of the recipes are cooked with a rhythm game of all things, which has multiple tracks that vary in quality. You will more than likely get sick of them, and having to repeat them is awful. I'm not sure where the nice composition went here, but they just decided to make it the most childish, repetitive songs that they could. Outside of that, the gameplay works just fine. It's just a matter of getting the timing right in order to get better quality foods. Then there's the mechanic of taking the orders from the patrons, going to the kitchen, bringing their food in a timely manner, which is fine in theory, but there are times when your siblings and your workers are just fiddling around and you need to go talk to them to calm them down. If you don't, you'll surely be overwhelmed amidst doing your work and will get customers storming off because of it. You don't have to be there for every meal, but it benefits the cafe's rating as a whole if you do so. I encourage you to do it at least once a day and constantly check your menu to see if the cafe is running out of something. It'll just make things less obnoxious when you head back to the cafe. Remember when I mentioned the farming thing earlier? Well, in order to unlock different ingredients on the farm, you need to find them growing out in the wild, which implies that you use the seeds or what have you in order to start farming the food. The difference is, rather than choosing what you plant, it's more along the lines of just grabbing food and bringing it back to automatically harvest it whenever you go to the vegetable patch. Fishing is more involved, but overall, farming is more of an afterthought with gathering and the cafe sim in mind, which is fine because interacting with your dragon more than makes up for it. Little Dragon's Cafe is far from perfect, but it's an enjoyable and lovable experience I'd recommend to those who enjoy games like Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley but want to try something different, or anyone who loves dragons, exploration, and maybe resource management. I'm Red Angel, and I'll see you next time.